Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Manifest and Monetize with Aliza Rose. Hello, I'm your host, Aliza Rose, the business mystic, and I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about a critical challenge for spiritual entrepreneurs, most of them, probably all of them. And this is how to serve deeply without depleting yourself. Okay. Um, and spoiler alert, you're not gonna have fun. You're not gonna have fun because I'm gonna ask you to take care of yourself. Okay, so 3 years into my business, into the business mystic when I launched it in 2017, Halloween 2017. 3 years into that, I was doing really well and I was working with more clients than ever. And I was, oh my gosh, that was like such a, like 2020, though, it was a really interesting year. It was one of my biggest revenue years ever. But I was really exhausted. I was resentful. And ironically, my own personal spiritual practice that kept me in high vibe and kept my frequency, clean and clear had pretty much dwindled to like nothing. I wasn't praying. I wasn't nurturing myself. I think there was dust on the crystals. I always kept up my altars, of course, but I just wasn't connecting. I wasn't connected to, and I wasn't connecting with my own spiritual practices. Okay. And in essence, I was pouring from an empty cup. Okay. I was pouring from an empty cup and I was really questioning if, whether I should continue this type of work, doing readings, doing this combination of spiritual strategy, of doing spiritual work and business strategy, if I could continue to do this long term. Okay. So I really was like in this crossroads with it. And the turning point came when I was working with a spiritual mentor. And, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And this is what's happening. I feel like I just want to shut everything down. And he said something that was like so obvious in hindsight, but I completely missed in that moment. And it was that I had created systems for everyone else but myself. I know, how Virgo rising of me. Like I literally had detailed processes for how clients would book their sessions, how they were going to receive support with me, if they had questions, how to integrate and do their work post session, after session, all the things, right? Again, Virgo rising totally made it happen, right? But I literally had zero, like none, zero, zilch. I had no systems for me of how I could replenish my energy, protect my boundaries or sustain my own spiritual practices that help fueled everything. Like I had no problem doing continuing education. I think at this time I was still working at the hospital, and work, and so I was like, I was still doing, still sharpening, my tools, but I was not taking care of myself. Right. So from that experience, I created what I call my, what I basically call my my energetic reset, my my stellar, my energetic reset, this framework of like resetting my energy and refilling it and recharging it. Okay. And everything changed. So this was just, I just called it my energy reset. It was like such a boring name, but like we'll just work with it. Okay. So from this, from creating this, from putting in graceful boundaries, from working with my sun sign, from reminding myself that putting these like guardrails in place, I was able to, number one, take care of myself, but also still show up powerfully and fully for my clients. Okay, so if you've been in my world, if you've seen, and this is probably why my brain got crosswired, um was my program, my course called the Stellar Reset. And people love that course. Like everyone who has bought and gone through that course, everyone was like, why didn't I buy this sooner? And that course was built off of this entire experiment of me not taking care of myself, right? So this was finally the Piscean energy coming through, where the Virgo was just so cut and dry, serve everyone else, forget your soul, forget your spirit, right? So this was my answer to it. And if you're curious about the Stellar Reset, how awesome it is, I will link that in the show notes and obviously the blog post. And I'll even put a coupon code down specifically for my podcast and show listeners and watchers so that you can get it for 50% off. Okay. Hello. Yes, I know. I love you all. Please leave a 5-star review. Okay, so because of this, because I was able to do this, it started to help me heal really toxic productivity habits that I had developed. I had worked 20 plus years in the hospital, in healthcare, as a nurse, and then in administration, and then behind the scenes. And in just that overall work and pace, really, it's just of self-sacrifice, right? Like that's the part of it. And it's just, many spiritual entrepreneurs operate from that misconception as well, from that misunderstanding, that self-sacrifice is a measure, of our noble dedication to our work. And that is so far from the truth, okay? Because this just leads to a whole cycle of depletion. It ultimately diminishes the quality of our service, our ability to be present for our clients, for ourselves, for our family, okay? And honestly, it just limits our income and our impact, okay? The bottom line in a day. All right? So, in order to create a business that is designed to sustain you, nourish you, and allow you to still serve powerfully and fully, you need to have clear you need to have clear boundaries, energetic boundaries, and literal boundaries around your time and capacity. Like having a scheduler, an online scheduler. You're not doing this back and forth with people on email. Here's the link, schedule when you want, right? And you preset your schedule. All right. You need to make sure that you have regular practices when you are energetically and spiritually renewing and recharging or replenishing yourself. Having a quiet space where you could do your spiritual readings, your meditations, your prayers, having an altar, having a quiet time, going somewhere, right? Where you're like, every time I come here, I'm refreshed. I go to the beach, I go to whatever, right? Like have a practice where you regularly do that. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's just, whatever, right? Like, you, right? You know what those practices are. Make it part of your day, like brushing your teeth. Okay. And then the part that's not fun for us is like actually putting systems in place, because we're like, spirituality, unless you've got like a strong earth placement where we need to manage resources all the time, for most of us, putting systems in place that allow you just to focus on what you're really good at and then discarding everything else or eliminating distractions can be a challenge. But ultimately, building your business to support your zone of genius, not like what you're good at but you hate doing, not what you're capable of doing but like you're not in love with, like what is your zone of genius, building your business that supports that. And I have a previous episode in this series where we talk about your aligned core offer, which kind of talks a little bit about having like a little part of that systems that you could put in place by creating an offer suite and creating a core offer that can support that. Okay. So another thing too is, being open to using technology to support you, strategically using technology, right? Automations, software, to do heavy lifting for you, like example, I keep using like an online appointment booking system. Like it's software, it's online. You don't have to do it. They could book anytime. They could be from any time zone, anywhere in the world, and they could figure it out. Right. So something like that, for example, right? Or automating or having evergreen posts that automatically schedule for you or pre-schedule for you or pre-post, right? And then really understanding fundamentally designing a business, and AKA, it kind of extends to your life, that you love, right? Creating a business structure that grows without demanding more of your energy, right? And so you got to create something with love, right? In that space. Now, here's something that's really interesting. So I mastermind. I'm in a pretty high level mastermind. Okay. And it was very stringent. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like I am the low rock in this room. These are people who make serious money. And I'm really grateful to be in the room with these folks. Okay. So one of the topics that is going on right now is about, how to make the leap from $500,000 a year in revenue to 1 million. That's a big jump, right? So, I'm not there at 500. I'm not there at $500,000. I'm not there at $500,000 in a calendar year of revenue, but between my two businesses, I have crossed the 7-figure mark of revenue overall. So anyways, we'll have to talk about that story for another day. But okay, that's not the point of this. Stop being distracted, Pisces. So the discussions were being had about this. Like, what did it take to go from $500,000 to $1 million in revenue? Like someone had asked a really good question. Like, what do I need to pay attention to? What are the 3 top tips? And the people who are making that money were like, you eliminate distractions. You have systems, you have people in place, and you are ruthless with what you are putting your time on. And it was like so surprising, because my Virgo-ness, my Virgo risingness is like, ooh, what can I mechanic today? What can I pickaxe? What new offer can I create? And this was not what they were talking about. They were like totally talking about, no, you're ruthless. You only focus on what you are good at. You're at the point where you are optimizing, you are maximizing, you are limiting distractions, offers, you are making the stuff that works work better. Like, it was like, of course, my Virgo risingness was like, oh, I love this. And my Pisces Libra moonness was like, what? Really? My Pisces was like, okay, I'm just going to go to an ice cream now with extra sprinkles. This seems like too much math. Like, I'm just kidding. I'm being silly, of course. But it was like a really intense conversation. And I was so glad that I got to really see that side of things, because like I am working towards, creating wealth for myself. And I understand that systems are going to be a part of that. So, but if you don't have a system in place first that will help you replenish your spiritual, mental, emotional, energy, if you don't start putting structures in place where you can like really focus on your zone of genius, the best way that you provide transformation, going and scaling up to that point is going to be a challenge. Not that you can't do it, but it's pretty much agreed upon that once you start hitting like a certain number, like, okay, 100K, 250K a year, 300, once you start going up, you can duct tape things. You can still run even if you're depleted. But when you're starting to make that leap from $500,000 to $1 million, I know these seem like really big numbers to some of you, that's where you see things break, because it's just different, right? There's just different types of pressures and different types of things. It's like going into the stratosphere of the stratosphere of planet Earth into space. If something isn't solid, it's going to break apart, and it's probably not a good thing, right? So, you can launch a lot of things in the air, Nerf guns, dandelion seeds, all kinds of stuff. But to keep a rocket going takes a lot, right? And so you may not be trying to get to $500,000. You may be just trying to get to 100K, right? But what got you to $50,000 to 100K, it's going to be a different leap. So the best thing that I could give you, if your goal is to be wildly profitable, to be successful, to hit your goals, because again, this is part of the series. We're not going to be broke, spiritual entrepreneurs. We're not going to be starving spiritual entrepreneurs or broke healers. Okay. That's not what we're here to do. That's not the mission at hand. We need to put systems in place that keep us, as the TikTok kids say, on our 100. I probably said that wrong. To keep us 100. Right? To keep your energy high, to keep your abundance frequency like on high, right? You need to start building those internal systems first. Okay. Operate from a place of abundance, of nourishment, replenishment, of rechargement. It's probably not a real word. Okay. And then when it comes to the point of you having to make these critical decisions in your business, it's not going to feel heavy. It's not going to feel hard. When it comes time for you to up level and serve, at a higher price point or a higher level client, it's not going to be hard. You're going to be able to do it. You're going to have confidence to do it. Okay. So I want this to inspire you. I want this to make you feel expansive. So open up your chest cage, breathe all that into your heart, and know that this is possible for you. And that, you weren't designed to eat, poop, and die. Right. So let's put those systems in to take care of you. Okay. So let's build it. Right. That's why you're here. So the most important thing that spiritual entrepreneurs really need to understand is that their well-being is not separate from their work, is not separate from their worth, and is not separate from their net worth. Okay. It's all connected. It's the foundation of it. You being well is the foundation for the wealth that you are trying to create. Period. Okay. So let's start today creating systems that protect and nurture your energy, and understand that you're not being selfish, This is an essential thing for the people you serve, okay? For you showing up fully. Okay, this is essential and critical for you loving yourself and loving the people around you, being present for them, and all the wonderful adventures and things you're going to be going into, right? It's essential for all those things. Okay. So, key takeaway for today, okay, is I want you to start putting in place your own version of like an energy reset or energy preservation system. Okay. So that you can sustainably give service at your highest and full potential and start laying that foundation so that when you start to make more money and you start up leveling and you start working with higher level clients and, you know, go to your first 6 figures, go to your half a mil, go to your mil, whatever number you want. Okay. You're going to be able to do it sustainably, fully, and not be depleted. Okay. So I'm going to give you 5 things to focus on. Okay. Number 1, I believe in time blocks. Okay. Sacred time blocks. It is important for you to identify your peak energy times. For me, it's the morning. Like I record my podcast in the morning. I am at my highest, my most alert. My energy feels really good. Pretty much by between noon to 2, like once after 2 o'clock hits, I kind of like my energy dips. I'm in a different mode. I'm picking up my kids from school. I just, you know, I'm not high peak that day. I'm not high peak during that time of the day. So during your highest energy times, whatever that may be, you know, you want to reserve this exclusively for client work if you have to do it, your highest creative work, your thinking work, your strategy work. That is sacred time. Okay. If you don't, there is a book about chronotypes, like the lion, the lion, the bear, and I think like the wolf or something. But I bought a book about it, and it's called. You can look up chronotypes, like chrono, like time, CHRONO type, and you can learn a little bit about that. I'm not affiliated with them. I just know I read a book about it, and it was like super fascinating, and like I was a bear. So what you want to do practically is block out time on your calendar. Keep your appointments with yourself. Make this a sacred commitment. Between the hours of 8 and 10, this is my writing time, or 8 and 11, or 8 and 2, or whatever time it may be. Even if it's just an hour, even if it's just half an hour, just start making that commitment to yourself and honoring it. Treat these times as non-negotiable, okay? I swear it will change the way how your work gets produced and how you feel about your work. Second, big deal. You need to put in place your own like energy, you know, recharging practices. Okay. Try schedule those daily or weekly practices that restore your energy. Again, it could be every day you just take 15 minutes, you do, you know, your 5-minute abundance ritual that we talked about in the last episode. Like that's your thing. You meditate, you connect with your spirit guides, you pray, you talk to your ancestors. Maybe it's going to church. Maybe it's going for a walk along the beach. Maybe it's, you know, doing some somatic exercises. Maybe it's doing your yoga. Maybe it's even working out at the gym. Like you may be one of those people that feel energized by that. I don't, but you may be. So be firm about scheduling that as you would if a client booked a session with you, right? Like this is, again, non-negotiable. One thing that I do know that I am going to share that I absolutely have picked up from being in this really super high level mastermind that I have started to implement every week is what they basically call an hour of power or power hour. And it's dedicating 1 hour every week to review what's working and not working in your business. Basically, you have a date and appointment set with the energy of your business, with the spirit of your business, with the analytics of your business, and you are figuring out, you know, what is okay. This was an energy drain. This was not a good return on investment. Oh, you know what? I keep saying I'm going to write my book and I didn't. What do I need to do? And this isn't bookkeeping time. This isn't like, let me go write like an outline for my blogs or my YouTube or my pod. This is like you are looking over your business with a fine-tooth comb and you're like, you know what? I could have done a better job at marketing. You know what? I ghosted my email list for this week or blah, 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 blah. Like, and just being really honest, facts are facts, feelings are feelings, separate the two and be like, okay, well, next week, here's the plan. I am going to write a quick post. I'm going to promote this offer that I have. I'm going to send an email to my list. I'm going to get my butt in the chair and write a chapter of my book. I'm going to write the outline for my next YouTube, you know, podcast episode. I'm going to look for a VA, like whatever it is, right? So this is separate from bookkeeping time. Going through your accounts, this is like time for you to be the CEO boss of your business with this hour of power or power hour. Okay. So I want you to try that. I've been practicing this since I joined this mastermind. And it has really changed my business. Like, wow, I sure spent a lot of time on this, and it was not the time I should have been spending my time on. You may discover that. Another thing to look at to help you really serve powerfully and sustainably is look to delegation automation. If you took my course, aligned, automated, and asynchronous. I talk a lot about this, how to, automate your business. And of course, there's also my my bad business, my batching, automation, and delegation course where I talk about this too. Again, all these things are through the filter of astrology. So if you want to know exactly how to do all these things through the lens of your rising sign and your moon sign, you can definitely check out these courses below. If they're available, I will link them in the show notes and of course in the blog post. But these are ways for you, identify what can be delegated. Who can you hire for, there's people who, what can you hire? Like if you suck at editing and proofreading your own words, hire someone to look it over, right? If you are really super struggling with cleaning your inbox or doing your customer service, maybe look to hire someone there. And of course, automation, again, like I was using, set up your online calendar, your online booking. So you don't have to go back and forth with the client, have that all set up, have your Zoom link ready to go, right? Like all in the reminder emails. Let's make it super easy for you, right? So, look at the ways that you can delegate and automate, right? And you might discover this in your power hour if you do that weekly. And then lastly, I think it's important, and you can find a lot of templates like this online. You can even use AI. Have some boilerplate scripts ready to go or templates ready to go should you come across a situation where your boundaries are being crossed. Okay. It could be like someone who's trying to text you after hours, or someone's trying to get you to coach them in your inbox and you don't do that. Or if someone hasn't paid your invoice and you are trying to catch up, get paid, like have these things in place so you can easily do it and it doesn't drain you. Okay. Or if I get this a lot, someone requests a service that you don't offer anymore, or you don't want to offer, right? Have something in place so you can quickly copy and paste it and go. Or if you have a VA, have them do it. Okay. So if you need help with, preserving your energy or having a reset, and you're interested in doing it, if you're interested in doing it through the lens of your sun sign, through your zodiac sun sign, which is like a core part of your identity and a core part of like how you do your things, I definitely recommend you go through my stellar reset. And like I said, I will put a special link for it for you. And you also can get 50% off because you're a podcast and show watcher listener. So I want to totally spoil you all. And again, thank you for being here. So you can check that out. So I want you to remember that you may be like, I'm so inspired. You want to put all these things into place. Totally understand that. I would say do one thing at a time. Okay. Just do one thing at a time, one per week, so it's like, a month or so, and just start. If you need a place to start with sacred time blocks, start with the time where you are your most peak high energy and get your work done during that time, and then leave everything else. It's just like business hours, right? Because it literally is your business hours. So remember, in closing, remember, you cannot serve from a place that's depleted. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So we don't want that, right? We want you to be energized. We want you to show up fully. We want you to have fun with your work. Okay. So let's start creating systems that honor your energy, that support you, that replenish you. Okay. And just understand, this is not just good self-care. This is good business, right? It's a good business strategy. Okay. So in the meantime, all right, I want you to take care, and we'll talk soon. All right. Bye.